Hello everybody, welcome to this video. I hope you're all doing well. Today, so soon after the last one, we are going to be doing another horror Blu Ray update. And the reason for this is that it was my birthday the other day and people bought me Blu Rays. So there's 10 here, 10 to show off, and I didn't buy any of them. So yeah, I'm going to, 3 people I think bought me all these, so I shall mention them as and when we get to the films. Just before we start, my voice is dead. I've recorded this on the same day as the record update. Yeah, it's not a different day, it's just a different shirt. And the cat's snoring, so if you can hear like a gas leak sound, it's not a gas leak, it's the cat. Just thought I'd get that out of the way, so you're not in suspense waiting for me to die during this video. And speaking of dying, what a segue, yeah, we're going to go straight into a film that was bought for me by my friend Mark, who went onto my Amazon wishlist. There's hundreds of horror film Blu-rays on there, and he randomly bought a film not knowing what the hell it was. But I knew what it was. It was Graduation Day. Yeah, Graduation Day is a slasher from 1981. Yes, 1981. And it's actually number 1 in the 88 Films Slasher Classics collection, so a very interesting pick, I have to say. It's one of the more famous 80s slashers. There's a lot of obscure ones, but I think any horror fan sort of recognises that image, even if they haven't seen the film. If I remember rightly, it's been a little while since I've seen it, but there's like a sports day event going on, and a girl dies at the end of this run, and shortly afterwards the track team start dying in mysterious ways during graduation. So yeah, typical plot. It's one of those that doesn't take itself too seriously, which is good. I don't like it when it steps too far into comedy, but this sort of straddles the line quite well, where it's not trying to be funny, but it's not taking itself too seriously. Until the end, actually. Until the end it gets really dark, just out of nowhere. So yeah. This is Graduation Day. As with all of these 88 Films things, you get a stack of special features, including on here the feature-length documentary Scream Queens, which is about Scream Queens, weirdly enough. Yeah, you've got interviews with all the famous ladies of horror. Alongside that, you've got, you know, some interviews with critics and things. There's not actually a commentary on here, but yeah, there's all sorts of theatrical trailers and photo galleries and things. And the disc itself is just your plain old Graduation Day, and the alternate artwork isn't alternate, it's exactly the same, just with a black border. Don't know if you can see that. So yeah, didn't really have much of a choice in this one, but I like this poster anyway, so I kept it as that. So yeah, that's Graduation Day from Mark Pierce. Thank you very much, Mark. A good choice, I would say. The next 3, which I'm just going to pull into a little stack, are from my boyfriend David, who bought these just as much for himself as he did for me. These are films that he wants to watch as well. Selfish. But yeah, we're going to start off his little selection with Let the Right One In, which I haven't actually seen. There's a couple of these I haven't seen yet, so you'll have to excuse me not knowing that much about them. But yeah, Let the Right One In is, as far as I know, Swedish from 2000 and... oh god, I'm pushing it now. Does it say on the back? It doesn't. I'm not going to guess. From the 2000s. About this sort of innocent boy who's getting bullied, and then he befriends this quite strange girl who is very protective of him and also happens to be a vampire. I think it's something like that. I haven't seen it, as I say. But yeah, interesting pick from David, and quite a good one, because this is highly regarded among horror fans. It's sort of a modern classic. There's a remake, I believe, an American remake called Let Me In, which is apparently not as good. That's the back there. It's not a particularly interesting package, it's literally just the Blu-ray disc, but, you know, sometimes that's cool as well. And that's all I'm going to say on this one. Let the Right One In. I'm sure a lot of people who watch this will have seen it, so let me know what you think, and let me know if you think I'll enjoy it. I generally don't do vampires, I don't know why. Sort of, I can deal with Bela Lugosi, I can deal with Christopher Lee, but I don't know. In terms of vampire films that I really enjoy, it pretty much stops at 30 Days of Night and Salem's Lot. So yeah, I shall have to see what I think. Voice is dying. Stop breathing heavily. And his other pick, he's actually done a very good job here, I have to say, because this is another one that's seen as a modern classic. This is The Cabin in the Woods. And the genius of this film is how it was marketed. It was marketed as one of those films, you know, ooh, some teens go into a cabin and get killed off. But it's absolutely not that. It's a very self-reflective, self-aware horror film that basically it's a load of in-jokes with horror fans, and it's, from what I understand, because I haven't seen it, but, you know, I've seen clips and things, and it looks great and wacky and silly, so, yeah, Cabin in the Woods there. Again, just a pretty basic package, couple of special features, a making of. The disc is in there. And again, it's one of those that, like I say, I haven't seen, so if you've seen this, let me know what you think. As you can see there, it's 5 stars across the board, so yeah. I'm expecting good things, but I should never let hype get into my head, because then I seem to be disappointed. Right, now, barring one, the rest of these are all Arrow. And yeah, the last one from David. I had to explain to him that this isn't a birthday movie. This is not a movie you put on to have a good time. And he was like, no, I want to watch it, I want to watch it. So a couple of days before I turned 20, we put on Takashi Miike's Audition. And yeah, we both felt filthy after it. For those who don't know, this is a Japanese horror film from 1999. And, you know, the Japanese horror films are always very different. You know, in Western horror films, it's generally sort of slashery, and there's a few other things thrown in. But I don't know, the Japanese always seem to be doing different things, and this is one of those things that is genuinely unsettling, because, you know, ghosts and vampires and zombies and things are all very, very good, but it's stuff that could happen that sort of scares me the most, and this is one of those things that could happen and probably has happened many times. A bloke meets, after his wife dies, a bloke meets this girl through a film audition, and you know, they slowly become friends and start semi-dating, I want to say, until he finds out that she's a fucking lunatic, and he's just horrendously obsessed with him up to the last sort of 15 minutes, where it just culminates in a horrible scene where you can't really look at the screen that much. And yeah, we watched this 2 days before my birthday, and we felt horrible. But yeah, really good package of this. It's Arrow, so exactly what you'd expect. 2K scan, loads of special features and things. Seagulls whinging outside. The disc itself is cool. It's got just a basic syringe there. And the alternate artwork, I believe it's the original poster from the 90s, which is just as horrible. There you go, that's her there with a syringe. It's a lot brighter as well, but I think that suits the film a lot more, just dark and twisted. But even then, you know, it manages to be different. It's not set in reality. It gets to the point where you're not sure what's a dream and what's not, and it all works quite well, and it's unsettling. It's not particularly sort of out and out frightening, but it's just one of those films that gets under your skin a lot, so I like that sometimes. That's Audition. Thanks, David, that's upbeat. Right, and the next 6 were bought for me by my dad, so thank you very much, Dad. And the last 5 are Arrow releases. This one isn't, so I thought I'd get this one out of the way first. Be quiet. This is a film that me and Dad seem to be the only people who vaguely liked it. This is The Boy, and it stars Lauren Cohen of Walking Dead fame. She's Maggie in The Walking Dead. And okay, it's been a while since I've seen this, but I vaguely remember she's hired as a babysitter, and she turns up and it's a doll. But is there someone else living in the house with them? Yes, is the answer. But yeah, everyone seems to loathe this film, but me and Dad watched it and thought it was alright. You know, it's at very least it's a sort of unique idea, and I thought it worked pretty well. Stuff on the back there. But the only problem is it's hard for me to see, is it, I've forgotten her name again now. Lauren Cohen, I said her name earlier. Yeah, it's hard for me to see her as anyone other than Maggie. So it was an interesting watch, but I thought this was alright. Contrary to a lot of other criticism, you know, I thought this was pretty good. And so did Dad, so that's The Boy. Relatively recent film there. Right, and yeah, the next 5 are all Arrow releases, so these are in no particular order. We got these from HMV. And we're going to start with Psycho 2. Now, someone on a live stream asked me what my favourite horror franchise was, and I couldn't really think of a franchise that was solid all the way through. I mean, Alien came to mind. Alien came to mind, but, you know, 3 and 4 drop off a bit. Friday the 13th is good up until about part 4 or 5, and then it goes downhill. Halloween, likewise. Nightmare on Elm Street, likewise. But I didn't think of Psycho, and as much as it's not a huge franchise, I think that helps it. There's 4 films in the Psycho franchise, not including TV shows and remakes. And yeah, Psycho 2 is obviously none of them are going to live up to the original, but Psycho 2 is a damn good sequel. Psycho 3 directed by Anthony Perkins, I think, and then Psycho 4 was directed by Mick Garris, I think. But yeah, Psycho 2 from 1983, one of the two, because it's set 22 years later. And it's quite a unique thing. It's not just the same, it's not Psycho recycled, as it were. Open this up quickly. You've got 2 things. You've got this poster card for the Ghoul with a load of other Arrow releases on the back. And then, as with a lot of these, you get a little collector's booklet with information and pictures. I always love that image. And yeah, these are always relatively hefty considering they come in a Blu Ray. And the disc itself just has Norman Bates' eyes on the front of it. And then the alternate artwork is the original poster for Psycho 2, which is it's a pretty damn good poster, I think, but I like that. I think that's cool. And yeah, if you haven't seen Psycho 2, then I would definitely say give it a chance, because I could totally understand people going, why does Psycho need a sequel? And they're right, it doesn't need a sequel. It just so happens that the sequel it got is pretty good as far as sequels go. As are 3 and 4, I think. I know 3 and 4 often get a lot of hate, but I think they're pretty good, and I would probably class it as my favourite horror franchise in terms of consistency. I think, you know, while I think I'd rather watch a Friday the 13th film than a Psycho film, it's more consistent all the way through, if that makes sense. Next up, we are going to Italy for this one and the next one, with Dario Argento's return to Giallo. This is Tenebrae. I thought the disc wasn't hit then for a second. This is Tenebrae. Yeah, this was after Dario Argento strayed from Giallo, because he started off with The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, 4 Flies on Grey Velvet, Cat o' Nine Tails, Deep Red. Oh, I thought I couldn't reel those 4 off. Which were all sort of murder mystery films. Then he strayed into supernatural stuff with Suspiria and Inferno. And then he came back with this, which again is just I was going to say a basic murder mystery, but it's far from basic. And it's everything that Italian films should be, in my opinion. You know, it's stylish, it's got great cinematography, fantastic music. It's probably one of my favourite film soundtracks of all time, courtesy of some of the people from Goblin. It's not Goblin, because they're disbanded at this point, I think. But yeah, a writer is in Rome, and a series of killings are going on that are linked to his book and linked to him somehow. Open this up quickly. No book, but we do get a poster card for the film Pulp with Michael Caine, which is good. You've got Daria Nicolodi there on the disc, and the alternate artwork is that famous image there of the girl with her throat cut. Interestingly, in the UK, they thought that poster was too violent and could corrupt everyone, so don't go out and kill people. But yeah, they I think on the British poster she's got like a bow wrapped around her neck to cover up the cut, because that's going to corrupt people, isn't it? But yeah, fantastic film. I really like this, although it's sort of suffers from the same things as a lot of Italian films, where it doesn't always make a lot of sense, and there's a lot of leaps in logic. But overall, you know, the vibe of the film, the music, the cinematography, the look of it, the acting and everything, it all adds to it, and I just think it makes a really, really good film. So that's Tenebrae from 1982, I want to say. It could be 3, but I think it's 2. Cut there! Right, we're staying in Italy, but we're jumping back about 20 years. This is from the early 60s, and it's considered to be one of the very first slasher films, because Psycho is cited as the first slasher film. I don't see it as a slasher film, whereas this I could see as a slasher film, as much as it's sort of a giallo as well. This is Mario Bava's Blood and Black Lace from 1964. And first off, I think Graham Humphreys did the artwork for this. That is one of the best Blu Ray covers that I own, bar none, bar some. Yeah, 6 models, 6 victims for a crazy masked killer. And yeah, it's at one of these fashion houses in Italy, and all the models are getting killed off one by one in really grisly ways for 1964. Me and Dad were watching it and we were like, this is quite ahead of its time in its violence, and you can definitely tell where Argento got his inspiration from, because this is, in its cinematography and its lighting and things, it's very Suspiria. You know, there's a lot of colours and things going on, and I think, given that colour cinema was, it wasn't new, but, you know, mainstream colour cinema was relatively new at the time, I think they wanted to exploit it, so they had blue lights, purple lights, red lights, and it all just makes everything look really vibrant, and it works for the film. On the back there is special features and things, as usual with Arrow. There's absolutely loads. What have we got in here? We have got A Fish Called Wanda. That's the poster card for this. And if I just pull the disc out, it's got some of the original artwork on. I really struggled to pick with the artwork on this because that is creepy as anything, but yeah, I think that's slightly better. So yeah, if you want to know the dawn of the slasher film, by all means count it as Psycho. But if you want a slasher film that feels like a slasher film, then Blood and Black Lace isn't a bad place to start, I wouldn't say. And Mario Bava famously went on to do things like A Bay of Blood, which is the same style, you know, just ultra-violence made to look really, really pretty. So that's Italian cinema for you. Blood and Black Lace there from 1964. And the last two are, well, I don't know why I picked these, to be honest. Well, I'll start with this one. This is a film that I hadn't seen before we bought it. I was with Dad when we bought these, and I just heard it was really good. So, and you know, it was there on the shelf in the deal, so we got it, and it is Burnt Offerings. Now, one thing to say about this film, and indeed the next film, is that the cast on this film is unbelievable. I mean, you've got Oliver Reed, Betty Davis, you've got Karen Black. There's loads of people in this, and yeah, it's about, it's not so much a haunted house, but this family rent out this house for the summer, but it turns out that whenever someone gets hurt or dies in the house sort of regenerates itself, and yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff going on. Awesome artwork on there, on the back, as you can see, and as usual, loads of special features and things. Open this up, and this is actually a dual edition one, so you've got your Blu Ray there and your blue DVD. What's the poster card for this one? A Fish Called Wanda. How weird's that? Yeah, and this comes with a booklet as well. Not as thick as a lot of the other Arrow booklets are, but again, you've got pictures from the film. There's Oliver Reed and Karen Black. Burgess Meredith's in this as well. Eileen Heckart, Lee H. Montgomery. There's all sorts of people. People seem to remember this for that creepy chauffeur guy that pops up every now and then, and he is very creepy. Having watched it, it's not a film I'd revisit very often. It didn't like blow me away or anything, but I did appreciate it for what it was. And the original artwork is in there, Burnt Offerings. And it was no contest. That is better than that. So, yeah, I enjoyed it. And so did Dad. But, yeah, again, it was the hype, I think. The hype made it out to be a lot more than it was, but it was still a fantastic film. So, Burnt Offerings there. And the same can be said about this film here. Amazing cast in this. And Vincent Price is one of mine and Dad's favourite horror actors, because he sort of did this... He had a way of mixing really horrible things with really funny humour, and it always worked. As it does in this. This is Theatre of Blood from 1972, and it could be argued that this is Vincent Price's last great horror film, because he was in loads of stuff after this, obviously, but yeah, this is from the 50s up until this is sort of the peak of his career, and after this, unfortunately, it did dip off a little bit. But, I mean, what a film to end your peak on, Theatre of Blood. Vincent Price, Diana Rigg, Ian Hendry. Open this up quickly, and I shall tell you the other cast members. Just get the booklet out. I was going to say, if A Fish Called Wanda pops up in here, I shall be very annoyed. Ian Hendry, Harry Andrews, Coral Brown, Robert Coote, Jack Hawkins, Michael Hordern, Arthur Lowe. Yeah, lots of famous people in this film. Very thick booklet, loads of information and pictures. For those who don't know, this is a black comedy horror about a Shakespearean actor. There's the stuff on the back. About a Shakespearean actor who gets slammed by the critics. So he goes round one by one. He goes round the critics' circle one by one and kills them off in Shakespearean ways. And yeah, it's really gruesome for 72, but again, Vincent Price just makes it funny. Theatre of Blood there. Really cool alternate artwork, but I think that's bright and vibrant. I enjoy that. So yeah, it's a bizarre one. I don't know. I don't think it'll be for everyone. If you're like a gore hound or anything like that, it will not satisfy your bloodlust. But it's a fun film, and it's got that weird British feeling to it. There's a lot of British actors in this, which I think is why Vincent Price sort of enjoyed himself so much with this. I believe this is Vincent Price's and Diana Rigg's favourite films that they ever appeared in, and you can see why. It's a good one. It's got a similar vibe to The Abominable Dr. Phibes, things like that, you know, sort of horror comedy where he's going around bopping people off. But it's a good film if, you know, it's your sort of thing. It won't be for everyone, but I personally enjoy it quite a lot. So that's the Arrow release of Theatre of Blood. And now I can breathe. What the hell? Oh, the cat's still there. I thought she disappeared. She's there. Right, yes. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you think of the films that I've shown off, especially the ones that I say I haven't seen. The Cabin in the Woods and Let the Right One In. And yeah, I'll probably let you know what I think of those in a live stream or something once I've watched them. So thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you in another video. Bye for now.